Hey there, folks. I'm Dena, and I'm here to share a little snippet of my life. I found myself entangled in a situation many of you might relate to, the classic mother-in-law dilemma. Surprisingly, it seems like entitled mothers-in-law are quite a common theme around here. Today, I want to delve into the story of my own mother-in-law, Vivien. From the get-go, it was evident that Vivien had a knack for entitlement and a touch of delusion. It became apparent right after tying the knot with my husband, Carter. Vivien wasn't financially dependent on us, but she did have this tendency to claim ownership of everything around her, dubbing our belongings as hers whenever she laid eyes on them. This behavior stemmed from her insatiable greed and a desire for a luxurious lifestyle that, unfortunately for her, she couldn't afford. For the most part, I managed to keep the peace by keeping my opinions to myself. However, a significant incident changed the dynamics between us. At one point, I had acquired a vintage car that held immense sentimental value to me, a legacy from my late grandfather's will. Vivien, oblivious to its importance, saw it as nothing more than a potential source of cash. My husband and I had deliberately kept this acquisition under wraps, knowing she'd likely suggest selling it and sharing the proceeds with her. Vivien was temporarily staying with us due to some emergency renovations at her place, her doing, but that's a story for another time. As soon as she entered our home, she started referring to it as hers, irritating, but I brushed it off as I usually did. The real trouble arose when she discovered my vintage car in the garage. "Why is there a vintage car in your garage?" she questioned. "That's actually my car. It was left to me by my late grandfather," I explained. Vivien wasted no time in expressing her thoughts. According to her, the car, valued at around $100,000, was better off sold and the money shared among the family. I, however, had no intentions of parting ways with my grandfather's cherished possession. Our clash of perspectives reached a pinnacle when Vivien insisted that keeping the car was selfish on my part. She believed the family deserved to enjoy the inheritance as well. Her words were, to put it lightly, downright delusional. After all, what I chose to do with my private property was none of her business, and that was a point I was determined to make clear. I wasn't under any obligation to disclose my assets to her. I couldn't fathom what was going through her mind. Uncertain about how to respond, I decided to let it slide, hoping she wouldn't revisit the topic. Unfortunately, my hopes were in vain. Vivien proved to be incredibly persistent and continued to broach the subject. One evening, as we were peacefully enjoying dinner, Vivien once again brought up the idea of selling my car. Out of nowhere, she interjected, "Have you reconsidered my suggestion? Have you decided to sell your car?" "For the last time, Vivien, I'm not selling my car. It's simply not an option." "This is entirely unacceptable," I asserted. "You can't just dictate what I do with my possessions. My Honda is perfectly fine for me. Selling the car and splitting the money among the family is not the solution." Undeterred, Vivien pressed on. "Dena, you cannot just have an expensive car sitting around. You're not a millionaire. Think about your family and sell the car. That way, everyone gets to enjoy the benefits." "I determine what happens with my car, Vivien. It's my decision. I'm keeping it in my garage because it holds sentimental value. I inherited it, and that's how I want it to be. I'm not selling it to anyone," I firmly asserted. Vivien turned to my husband Carter, expecting him to support her cause. She assumed he would side with her, given his past difficulty in saying no to her and setting boundaries. To her surprise, Carter stood his ground. "Mom, it's her car, so she decides what to do with it. You've heard her. The car has sentimental value. If she doesn't want to sell it, we shouldn't force her. Even if it's a substantial amount of money, it's hers to decide," Carter stated firmly. Vivien looked deflated, realizing her son was not going to endorse her views. Despite this setback, she continued to make subtle comments about the car and the allure of having $100,000 in cash. It became increasingly annoying, but I chose to ignore it, determined to hold on to what was rightfully mine. I should have been more vigilant. as she cunningly managed to pilfer and sell my car right from under my nose. One morning, as I prepared to leave for work, the realization struck me when I found my vintage car missing from the garage. I had intended to drive my Honda, but upon opening the garage, my prized possession was nowhere to be seen. Immediate panic set in as I considered the worst-case scenario. The garage was open, but there were no signs of a break-in. Carter's car wasn't in its spot, having left for work earlier, eliminating the possibility of him taking it. It became evident that someone had stolen it. I promptly called my workplace, requesting a day off to unravel this unsettling situation. The car held immense sentimental value, and I couldn't rest until it was safely back in its place. Frantically, I dialed Carter to ensure he wasn't involved in the car's disappearance. Carter, did you take my car by any chance? It's not in the garage. What? No, I took my Mustang. I saw your car before I left. I don't know, Dena. It's not in the garage anymore. I discovered it missing when I opened the garage to take my Honda to work. I'm freaking out, Carter. Carter tried to calm me down, advising me to check the security cameras and contact the police once I had more information. He was tied up in an impending meeting but assured me of his availability if necessary. Following Carter's guidance, I turned to the security cameras, accessing the videos from that morning. To my dismay, I discovered something perplexing and disturbing. The culprit behind the car's disappearance was none other than my mother-in-law, Vivien, who had blatantly ignored my countless warnings not to touch the car. Enraged, I called her immediately, recording the conversation. Vivien, where the hell are you? Why did you take my car? Oh, relax now, will you? I just took it out for a short ride. No, you need to come back right now. I need my car back. I didn't give you permission to use it. It was sitting in your garage, Dena, since you don't want to sell it. I might as well make good use of it. Now stop calling me. I'll come back home when I come home. I was furious with Vivien, considering reporting her to the police. However, despite my anger, I decided to give her a chance to return the car without any damage, mindful of her role as my mother-in-law. I contemplated making Vivien face consequences for her actions to ensure such an incident wouldn't recur. Initially, I was hesitant to involve the police, not wanting to waste their time unnecessarily. However, as time passed without Vivien's return, I began reconsidering my stance. Little did I know that the situation was about to take a turn for the worse. After an hour, I heard Vivien enter through the door. But to my surprise, she hadn't brought my car back. Alarm bells rang in my head, especially as she carried multiple shopping bags filled with luxury brands she clearly couldn't afford. Fueled by anger, I approached her demanding an explanation. What the hell, Vivien? Where is my car? It's sitting in your driveway. I'm talking about my vintage car, Vivien. Where is it? What did you do? Nonchalantly, she responded, Oh, you mean your vintage car? Well, I guess you can say goodbye to your $100,000 car. Oops, too late. It's already gone. What do you mean it's too late? You need to be more clear, Vivien. I'm running out of patience. I did what you should have done a long time ago. I sold your car, Vivien stated, displaying no remorse and seeming quite pleased with herself. My anxiety transformed into pure rage. I couldn't fathom what she had just confessed. Trying to keep my composure, I asked, You sold my car? Are you serious right now? Yes, I'm very serious, Dena. I sold your car today itself. It brought in some good money. How do you think I paid for all that stuff? She replied casually. Letting the shock settle, I summarized in disbelief. So you stole my car, and instead of returning it safely to my garage, you sold it for cash. Yes, that's exactly what I did. Why do you look so surprised? I told you that you need to sell a car. Having such an expensive car sitting in the garage is a waste of money. Are you freaking insane, Vivien? Who gave you the right to steal my property and sell it for your own benefit? You're getting ahead of yourself, Dena. I do plan on using the money for family stuff too. I've just booked plane tickets to Alaska. We'll have a nice time at a ski resort that I always wanted to go to. See, I'm not the only one who'll be enjoying the money. If you behave, I might give you some of the money so that you can buy something for yourself. Vivien's entitlement infuriated me, and I was on the verge of losing my temper. Part of my brain struggled to believe her audacity, but with my mother-in-law, anything seemed possible. Despite my anger, I decided to give her one more chance to rectify the situation. I asserted, "Listen to me, Vivien. You will take your car, drive to the place where you sold my car, and bring it back to me right now. I'll say this only once. Take this as your last chance not to mess up your life." "Are you threatening me, Dena?" Vivien retorted. "Well, that's not going to work. The car is sold. And I already spent some of the money. Besides, I didn't sell it just so you can demand to bring it back." "So, you're saying that you won't bring my car back? I gave you a chance to reserve your stupidity, and you won't take it. Is that right?" I pressed. "God, you're slow, Dena. There's no way I am bringing your car back. Like I said, it's long gone now. You can go drive your Honda for all I care," Vivien replied dismissively. "All right then, don't say that I didn't give you a chance," I concluded. Vivien didn't even bother to hear the last part. She simply took her shopping bags and went to her room. My mind spun with the audacity of this insane woman, but I knew that yelling wouldn't work. I needed to act fast if I wanted to retrieve my car. So I did what any sane person would do. I called the cops and explained the situation. The cops arrived at my house within 15 minutes. By then, I had gathered the papers proving ownership of the car. I welcomed the officers inside, showing them all the evidence, including security footage of my mother-in-law driving away with my car and not returning it. The officers decided to confront Vivien. She came downstairs looking annoyed, but froze when she saw the cops waiting. Trying to play it off, she sweetly greeted, "Good afternoon, officers. What brings you to my home? Is my daughter-in-law in some sort of trouble?" "Mom, your daughter-in-law is pressing charges against you for stealing and selling her car illegally," I interjected. "Oh no, there must be some mistake, officers. As you can see, her car is sitting right in the garage. She's just being mean by calling you here," Vivien protested. "Mom, this is not about the Honda you're pointing at. We're talking about the vintage car that you sold today," I clarified. "There is no vintage car in my house, officers. This might be some sort of misunderstanding." "We are not that rich to own a vintage car," Vivien insisted. "Mom, we literally have paperwork and video evidence of everything. Plus, there is insurance involved. There's no use lying to us," I countered. Realizing her lies wouldn't work, Vivien changed tactics, coming up with a different sort of lie. It was amusing to see her invent some crazy stories to cover up her crime. She looked a little embarrassed as she stammered, "All that one, officers." I might have gotten confused. Yes, she used to own a car like that, but she asked me to sell it, so that's what I did. "Why the hell are you lying to the officers, Vivien? I never gave you permission to even drive the car, let alone steal it," I asserted. "Dena, what the hell? You can't just change your mind like that. Are you doing this to trap me? That is so wicked. Officers, you must understand that Dena is trying to trap me. I swear she gave me permission to sell it," Vivien protested. "Oh really, Vivien? So how do you explain your phone call where I clearly said that you need to bring my car home, and I don't want you driving or touching it?" I challenged. "What phone call, Dena? You're just talking nonsense," Vivien retorted. I simply pulled out my phone and played the call recording where I was telling Vivien to come home and leave my car alone. It also had proof that I didn't give her permission to use the car, and I wanted the car home, not sold off to some illegal business. The officers listened to the voice recording and were very annoyed. They gave Vivien the most "don't mess with us" look and said, "Are you going to come up with more lies, or is that it?" I can explain. "Just hear me out," Vivien stammered. "You don't need to do that anymore, ma'am. You can talk at the police station now. You're under arrest for the theft of your daughter-in-law's car," the officers declared. Vivien looked really afraid. She was gulping hard and tears started to well in her eyes. She tried to come up with more lies, but the officers cuffed her without listening. She should have shut up, but her anxiety didn't let her. Instead, she decided to ask me for help. Yes, she literally changed her demeanor within a few minutes. She went from being confident to a scared animal begging for help. She turned to me and said, "Dena, you can't let this happen. You can't make your own mother-in-law get arrested. Think of what people will say." "I don't care what people will say, Vivien. You committed a crime and need to be arrested, and I will do anything to get my car back. It's just a car, Dena. There's no reason to get me arrested for that. We can talk and work this out. Trust me, you don't want your mother-in-law getting arrested. We're family." "You sure didn't care about my family when you sold my car. You literally sold a piece of my family's history. You don't get to play the family card," I retorted. Vivien was already in tears and kept begging me to let it go. She was delusional and thought that I was going to let her get away with her horrendous behavior. She tried pleading with me until she was taken to the cop car. But before she got in, she shouted at me, "This is not the end, Dena. I will get my son involved. He will put you back in your place." "Well, good luck with that, Vivien. I'm sure your son will do what is right. You worry about getting out of jail." I said goodbye to my car, "But you will say hello to a lawsuit. You will get nothing. My son will protect me. He will come to rescue me and kick you out of the house," she declared. Her son did go to the police station, but not to rescue her. When Carter called me and asked what was going on, I told him to meet me at the police station. I needed to physically file a case, so it would be better for me to meet him there. Plus, I wanted to see Vivien's face when Carter made his assessment of the situation. Carter and I met and went straight to Vivien. She saw him and started to cry. "Carter, look what your wife has done. She hates me so much that she put me in jail. I cannot be here." "Carter, you need to do something," Vivien pleaded. "Dena, what's going on? Why did you put Mom in jail?" Carter asked. "Hey, Vivien, want to explain to your son what you did with my car?" I interjected. Vivien was suddenly very quiet, thinking of an explanation that would make her look less bad. Unfortunately for her, she couldn't come up with anything and remained silent with her head down. "Mom, say something. Why are you quiet?" Carter urged. "What will she say, Carter? She stole and sold my car to someone. Then she came home with shopping bags and informed me that she has booked us a vacation in Alaska," I explained. "Wait, what? Mom, what the hell did you do?" Carter exclaimed. There was more, Carter. The cops got a name out of her. They contacted the man, and he said that the car had been damaged a little after delivery. So this will be a big lawsuit. I can already see $1 million, I continued. "Oh my God, Mom, what have you done? I told you to stay the hell away from Dena's car. Why can't you just listen for once?" Carter's tone was firm, surprising Vivien. She started crying and tried to make him feel bad for her. But I knew that Carter wouldn't save her this time. He knew where to draw the line. Vivien continued to plead with us to help and change her mind. Carter was extremely upset and decided to leave the police station with me. He was apologetic about his mom's actions and said that he would never forgive her for this. He encouraged me to pursue my case and get my car back. I eventually got my car back, but it took a while. The car was in a small accident with the buyer, and it got badly dented. Repair costs for vintage cars can skyrocket, along with lawyer fees. Vivien ended up paying $1 million for the lawsuit. She was forced to sell her own childhood home and take on debts. Carter made it clear to her that we didn't want her around anymore. He also said that she better not expect to hear from us for a long time. Word of her arrest and the lawsuit spread like wildfire. Her friends dropped her, and her family was extremely upset with her. We're still in no contact with Vivien, and the lawsuit has been settled. I got back my car, and a very experienced mechanic worked on it. It was all paid for by my dear mother-in-law, of course. The mechanic was so good that he wouldn't even know that it was damaged. So I got my car back, while Vivien lost her own house, and is now living alone in a rented apartment, desperate for company.